In a world of shadows and silence, in a city drowned in smoke and concrete, people live under a gaze that never blinks. Every street corner, every corridor, every small apartment is watched by giant screens. On those screens, the same face stares back at you, a face with piercing eyes and a mustache. Big Brother. And beneath that face, the warning, Big Brother is watching you. The story I'm about to tell you is not just fiction, it's a warning. Written in 1949 by George Orwell, it imagines a future of absolute control, a future where freedom, truth, and love are crushed under the weight of power. The novel's name is 1984. In this world, one superstate dominates, Oceania. It's one of three great powers constantly at war, Oceania, Eurasia, and Eastasia. But our focus is on Oceania, the home of the story's main character. What makes Oceania unique is not just its power, but its absolute control. The party rules everything, not only your actions, not only your words, but even your thoughts. Here, there is no privacy, no independent opinion, no freedom. Every glance, every whisper, even the smallest expression on your face can be considered a crime. The party's slogans are plastered on every wall. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. Three phrases that make no logical sense, but in Oceania, logic doesn't matter. The party's word is the only truth. Daily life in this society is controlled by four ministries. Their names sound noble, but their roles are the exact opposite. The Ministry of Truth, responsible for lies, rewriting history, and erasing the past. The Ministry of Love, responsible for torture, fear, and obedience. The Ministry of Peace, in charge of endless war. And the Ministry of Plenty. It doesn't increase wealth. It reduces rations and keeps the people starving. And so the citizens live like prisoners, watched, silenced, forced to worship Big Brother. But in the middle of this gray, suffocating world, there is one man. His name is Winston Smith. A thin, weary man in his late 30s, with a face that looks older than his years. Winston works in the Ministry of Truth, where his job is not to find truth, but to destroy it. Day after day, Winston sits at a desk, editing old newspapers, rewriting history. If the party says they were always at war with Eurasia, then Winston must erase every record that mentions peace. If the party says food production has increased, Winston must alter the figures to match. The past is rewritten, the present is controlled, and the future is shaped by lies. And yet, Winston carries a dangerous secret. Deep inside, he doesn't believe in the party. He doesn't trust Big Brother. One evening, Winston buys a small notebook, an object considered forbidden. He opens it carefully, his hands trembling, and begins to write. He writes about his doubts, his anger, his desire for freedom. It's a crime, a thought crime. In Oceania, even thinking against the party is punishable by death. As Winston writes, he knows the danger. The telescreens watch every movement. Microphones are hidden everywhere. But still, he writes. It's his only act of rebellion, his only attempt to prove he is still human. Part 3. Julia and Rebellion. Then something happens that changes everything. One day at work, Winston notices a young woman named Julia. At first, he is suspicious. He fears she might be a spy of the thought police. But then, in a crowded hallway, Julia stumbles, and as she passes Winston, she slips a small piece of paper into his hand. Later, when Winston opens it, his heart nearly stops. The message reads, "I love you." This is the beginning of a forbidden romance. Winston and Julia meet in secret, away from the telescreens, hiding in abandoned places. For the first time, Winston feels alive. For the first time, he feels love. Julia is bold, passionate, and practical. She doesn't care about the party's lies. She only wants to live in the moment, to enjoy stolen hours of freedom. Together, they dream of a world beyond Big Brother's reach. Their love becomes their rebellion. Every kiss, every touch, every whispered word is an act of defiance against the party. Part 4. O'Brien and the Illusion of Hope. Among the powerful figures in Oceania, one man stands out to Winston: O'Brien. A high-ranking party member with an intelligent, mysterious presence. Winston has always felt that O'Brien, somehow, is different, that maybe he secretly opposes the party. One night, O'Brien invites Winston and Julia to his apartment. There, he confirms their hopes. Yes, he says, there is a resistance. It's called the Brotherhood, led by the mysterious Emmanuel Goldstein, the party's most hated enemy. Winston and Julia are overjoyed. They believe they've finally found allies, that they are part of something greater than themselves. O'Brien even gives Winston a forbidden book, Goldstein's Manifesto, explaining how the party manipulates truth, war, and history to keep control. For the first time, Winston believes that change is possible. But hope is dangerous, and in Oceania, hope is a trap. One night, while Winston and Julia are resting together in their secret hideout, the walls suddenly echo with a cold voice. "You are the dead." The thought police storm the room. Julia and Winston are captured. And the cruel truth is revealed. O'Brien was never part of the resistance. He was never against the party. All along, he was a loyal servant of Big Brother. The entire illusion of freedom, the Brotherhood, the book, it was all a setup, a trap to catch the rebels. Part 6. Ministry of Love. Winston is dragged to the Ministry of Love, a place of terror. Here, he faces brutal interrogations. Days, weeks, maybe months, he cannot tell how long. He is beaten, starved, tortured until his body breaks. But worse than the pain is O'Brien's voice, calm and cold. O'Brien explains the party's philosophy. Truth is whatever the party says it is.
Reality exists only in the mind, and the party controls the mind. If the party says 2 plus 2 equals 5, then it equals 5. Winston resists at first. He insists that truth exists outside the party. But O'Brien crushes him again and again until Winston begins to doubt even his own memory. The final step is waiting for him in the dreaded room 101.
Part 7. Room 101 and the End. Room 101 is the most feared place in the Ministry of Love. Each prisoner faces their worst nightmare there. For Winston, it is rats. He is strapped to a chair, a cage of starving rats pressed close to his face. As the animals squeal and scratch, ready to tear into him, Winston breaks. In a moment of pure terror, he screams, "Do it to Julia, not me! Torture her instead!" In that instant, his rebellion dies. His love for Julia is destroyed. The party has finally won. Afterward, Winston is released. He is a hollow man, broken, emptied of all resistance. He sits alone at a cafe, drinking, staring at a giant screen where Big Brother's face smiles back at him. And then, in the very last moment, Winston feels it. He feels not fear, not hatred, but love. He whispers to himself, "I love Big Brother." The man is gone. The party has triumphed. And the warning of George Orwell's 1984 is complete. When truth is destroyed, when love is forbidden, when freedom is erased, all that remains is obedience and the face of Big Brother.